Hello everyone and welcome back to another Star Wars The Black Series action figure review. Today we're taking a look at what I believe to be the epitome of a perfect Black Series figure. This is of course Darth Sidious from Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith, more specifically from his Senate duel with Yoda in the movie, and like I said, this is, in my opinion, one of the most perfect Black Series figures that Hasbro have ever released. It ticks the boxes for a number of reasons. It's a popular character that fans have been clamouring for in the 6-inch line. The soft goods are really well done. The accessories that come with this figure are absolutely fantastic, and just overall execution is really good. Hasbro have done an amazing job with this figure. It couldn't have been better if they tried, and I'm really happy to have this one in the collection. It far exceeds the expectations I had for it going in. It does use a little bit of reuse in terms of recycled parts from previous figures, but that is okay. It makes sense, and we'll touch base on all of that throughout this review. Before we do, as always, if you'd like to purchase this one for yourself, hit the link in the video description. That will take you to staractionfigures.co.uk, and at the time of filming this review, Sidious is in stock and available to buy. So without further ado, let's dive into this video and take a look at the packaging that Darth Sidious comes in. So as you can see, the packaging that Darth Sidious comes in is indeed the slightly older style box for the Black Series. This was, like the Super Battle Droid that I previously reviewed, one of the final figures to be released in this style packaging. As you can see, along the front of the box we do have the colour band indicating the movie or media from which the character is based. Down the side of the box we have the angled edge with the mural artwork depicting Darth Sidious in his office looking very sinister indeed. And then on the reverse side we have that image once again accompanied by a brief description of the character. As you can see, this is number 1 in the Revenge of the Sith lineup in this current phase, or previous phase should I say, of Black Series packaging, and that to me is unbelievable. The fact that we've had this packaging style for the past 3-4 years, and this is the first figure to be released in it from Episode 3, that is shocking and long overdue. But like I said, this is the perfect figure, and I couldn't think of a better first figure to release from Episode 3 in this packaging than Darth Sidious. So with that being said, and packaging aside, let's dive in and take a look at the figure itself. So here we have the Senate himself, free of his plastic prison, and like I said at the start of the review, this is, in my opinion, an example of a perfect Black Series figure. It not only is a character that we've been wanting to see in the Black Series line for quite some time, like I said, a long overdue edition, but the soft goods are phenomenal, the sculpt of the figure is fantastic, and the accessories that he comes with are absolutely amazing. So Hasbro, take a bow, you've done an incredible job with this figure. Like I said, it does depict Darth Sidious in his iconic Senate duel outfit from Revenge of the Sith, where he squares off against Yoda, and if you've picked up the recent Yoda and Commander Greed 2-pack, the Yoda figure in that set is going to pair up really well with this one. Like I said, in terms of general execution, Hasbro have done a great job with Darth Sidious himself, and we'll touch base on the accessories before we dive in to the finer details. So right off the bat, as you can see, he does of course come with 2 lightning hands, which are fantastic additions and ultimately more than necessary when it comes to Darth Sidious. It would have been criminal for Darth Sidious to not include Force lightning hands, and the ones that have been included are very nicely sculpted. As you can see, the lightning bolts are a strong, vibrant, translucent blue colour. The hands are really well sculpted. They're a little bit sturdier and less flimsy than the ones included with previous iterations of the Emperor, so I'm really happy about that. And they are of course interchangeable with standard hands as well, which we'll take a look at in just a little bit. But like I said, in terms of shelf presence, I say it in all my reviews, but the main thing that I care about when it comes to Black Series figures is how they look on the shelf. And when we talk about shelf presence, man does this guy have it in droves. He looks phenomenal, looks more than sinister, and I am just so happy with how this figure came out. He looks amazing. Like I said, those Force Lightning hands are a great addition, but he does come with some more accessories as well. So let's take a look at those. So as you can see, in addition to the Force Lightning hands, this figure also comes with a pair of more neutral hands, one in which to hold the lightsaber that's included, as you can see, and one that's sort of pointing and in a more generic pose. Either way, whether you've got this figure displayed on your shelf with the Force Lightning or wielding the lightsaber, he definitely has that shelf presence that I talked about, and I'm itching, like I said, to get my hands on that Yoda figure from the Clones of the Republic 2-pack, which is going to pair up really nicely with Sidious here. With regards to the rest of the figure, like I said, the sculpt is absolutely phenomenal once again. The face sculpt in particular is really good. Obviously, most of it is hidden by the plastic hood, which I think was the best choice here. I think if this figure had featured a soft goods hood, it wouldn't have looked as good. So the plastic is appreciated, but like I said, it does hide the majority of the head sculpt. The face, however, is really nicely done. It's beautifully sculpted. The photoreal face printing technology really gives this figure life. It brings definition to the wrinkles on the forehead, to the darkness surrounding his eyes. It looks phenomenal, and I would go as far as to say it is the best iteration of Emperor Palpatine that we've seen in the Black Series so far. And when you get it in certain lights, the shadows that hood creates just make this guy look really evil, and I absolutely love it. Like I said, displayed on a shelf, they don't come much better than this figure. Now, as I mentioned, the hood is plastic and it is in its own right really nicely sculpted. The paint matches up nicely to the soft goods robes, and the robes themselves are of a really nice fabric quality. I absolutely love the soft goods robes that Hasbro are doing with their current Black Series figures. They're killing it with some of these Jedi robes and other accessories that come with these figures. They're really doing a good job. You've got, as you can see, the black shawl that covers the shoulders, and then the rest of the robe has this really nice, thick but natural look to it, and it just looks phenomenal. Rather than looking like a toy, this figure looks like Darth Sidious jumped right out of a Senate pod and into our collections. So I'm really happy with how this figure looks and how he's articulated. Like I alluded to at the start of the review, this figure does feature some reuse, but the reuse that has been applied here makes sense, and in my opinion is an inspired choice. Now, if you think back to 2012 and the Vintage Collection, there was a Darth Sidious figure released in that line from The Phantom Menace, and once you removed the soft goods robes and the plastic hood, underneath you had what appeared to be Darth Sidious in training, which was a little bit of a nod to the Darth Plagueis novel, and I really liked that about that figure, and this is a nice representation of that, but in Black Series 6-inch form. Underneath the robes, and I'll do my best to try and showcase this now, but underneath the robes we have what appears to be the body of the Jedi training Luke Skywalker figure that came with Grogu from the Book of Boba Fett, and this costume is very similar to the one worn by Palpatine in his previous Vintage Collection release from The Phantom Menace, and I think that is a great choice. Like I said, I'm not always on board with Hasbro reusing parts for some of their figures, but if they do it in a way that makes sense, I'm all for it, and this more than makes sense. And like I said, in some ways it's an inspired choice, so kudos to Hasbro for that. Like I said, it's a modern figure, so the articulation is up to date, the proportions of the figure aren't affected by the reused parts, so I have no complaints with it. And for the most part, the body is hidden by the robes anyway, so it really doesn't matter what he looks like underneath. The important part is that he is well articulated, and this figure has it in droves. He is packed to the brim with articulation, and like I said, being a more modern Black Series release, the articulation is nice and up to date, so it doesn't feature the ugly pins, you know, it's not limited in terms of posability, it is really good. The only limitations that we have with this one are of course with the head. Being surrounded by a plastic hood, there's not a great deal of movement with regards to the head, but as always we do have a ball joint at the base of the head and at the bottom of the neck, so if the hood wasn't there you'd have a nice fluid range of movement going on there. With regards to the rest of the figure, we have ball hinges and butterfly joints at the shoulders, so if you do so wish, the figure can hold the lightsaber with two hands, which is always important. We have hinges at the elbows and at the wrists. There's a ball joint at the torso, and also hinges at the hips, swivel cuts at the upper thigh, hinges in the knees, and hinges and rockers at the ankle. Unfortunately, you're going to have to take my word for it in terms of how articulated this figure is, as obviously the articulation for the most part is hidden by the robes. But like I said, it's nice and up to date. Like I said, there's no pins visible or anything like that. And yeah, I'm more than on board with the reused parts that Hasbro have opted to use with this figure. So yeah, in terms of overall execution, like I said, I'm more than happy with this one. The lightsaber, we'll just touch base on that briefly before we wrap things up, is really nice as well. You've got the gold details on the hilt. The blade is of course removable and is a nice strong red translucent colour. Unfortunately, there's nowhere to store the lightsaber hilt on the figure, but for the most part you're either going to have this figure displayed with 2 Force Lightning hands or with the lightsaber in one hand at least, so it's not a major issue as to where to store that saber when it's not in use. But like I said, in terms of the rest of the figure, it is really well done. One other aspect that I want to draw attention to before we wrap things up is also, again, with regards to the soft goods, the cuffs on the wrists, which feel elasticated and again just add this really lifelike, very natural look to the figure. You've got this, you know, these big puffy sleeves which look great, and like I said, soft goods are a big factor into what makes this figure so great in my opinion. It really is a phenomenal figure, and I think if you pick this one up for yourself, you'll be very happy with it as well. So that is a wrap on this review on Darth Sidious from Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith. Once again, an absolutely fantastic figure. Ticks all the boxes for me. Accessories, soft goods, sculpt, articulation, everything here is really good. And if you haven't picked up this figure for yourself already, I highly recommend that you do so, especially if you're a fan of the prequels or the dark side in general. So if you're looking to add some unlimited power to your collection, be sure to hit the link once again in the video description and grab this figure for yourself. I'll be back with some more Black Series reviews very soon. In the meantime, keep collecting, and as always, may the Force be with you.